4 companies exhibiting at the Tendering Country show, and their stands were empty all day long. What were they thinking? Now, this is a bit of a follow-up video to an article that I wrote earlier this week, and I've just come back from an afternoon run, which is why I'm probably sitting here sweating and horrible. For you can't smell me over here. But yeah, whilst I was out this afternoon, I was thinking about the article that I wrote and the fact that fundamentally it comes down to these 4 companies that are exhibiting there. Did they really know who their market was? Now, these country shows, maybe you've been to them yourselves, but they have quite a divide, right? Now, on the one hand, it makes a lot of sense, especially if you're selling to off-grid properties. It's like, right, let's advertise or exhibit at these country shows because there's landowners there, there's people with big houses, they're off-grid, they've got plenty of money. So on the face of it, you think, it's not a bad idea. However, when you've actually been to these shows, what you find is there's a great big arena. In that arena is where they have all the rare breed animals coming out to be shown, horses doing their thing, tractor displays, all the rest of it. Now on the arena, you've got the normal folk on one side, and over the other side, there's a great big tent, marquee, where the money people are. And they're all dressed in suits and hats and shirts and ties. All the scum is on the other side, where I was, where we're in shorts and t-shirts and sweating. And the problem is, where these exhibition stands are, and there's hundreds of them, all the local firms doing their honey and wares that they've made and chainsaw carving. That was quite cool, actually. Not that I bought one, and that's kind of the point. But yeah, amongst those stands, they're not the right people. They're people that were there to enjoy the show, see some animals, have a look at some tractors because they don't get up close to them. Do you know the person that made the most money at that show would have been one of the various ice cream vans that were dotted around the place? So the point being, still sweating, the point being is the individuals hadn't considered who their market was, not well enough to understand that environment. As a result, they didn't know necessarily what the message was that they were trying to get across to these people. And if they didn't know who their market was and what the message was, then they absolutely didn't understand what the best media was to get that message across. Now, what we've got here is they've basically approached it back to front. The opportunity to exhibit at one of these country shows has popped up, and they've thought, why not? Probably wasn't a huge amount of money, so they've opted to go for the show. They've gone media first. Then they think, well, best put a stand together, and there was a variety of levels of effort that have been put into these stands. Some pretty good. I may even flash some pictures up over this video if I can get away with putting them up there without you necessarily identifying who they are, because that's not really very fair. But what you may see is that, some were great, some were in pretty mediocre, and some were rubbish. But the point being is, so they hadn't really considered who they were, where they were, and what the message was that we're getting across. So what we've talked about there is the 3 M's of marketing. And this is a strategy that I've employed for many, many years. And I learnt it many, many years ago. I didn't come up with it, I learnt it somewhere else. And it's market, message, media, in that order. And that's the key part, that it's in that order. So who's your market, who's your message, what's the best way to get that message in front of them, what's the best media to get that message in front of them. Now, if you actually consider those things, there's a very good chance that country show won't be the answer that comes up, okay? There will probably be any number of things that present themselves as a better way to get your message across to your market, So the danger is, and what I see so many companies doing it back to front, media, message, market, okay? Back to front. Final point that I raised in my article that I published on LinkedIn earlier this week is, in order to keep track of how these things are working, there's another acronym I'm going to introduce you to, which is OKRs. Now, you may have come across OKRs before, but if you haven't, that's fine, because what it stands for is objectives and key results, okay? So when you're doing your marketing, you've got to have a very clear idea of what your objective is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Okay. Now, more likely when it comes to marketing, the objective will be to generate leads, to generate sales revenue. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And you'd think that that's a really obvious answer to a really obvious question. However, the reality is that 90% of businesses don't ask that question. They'll do something for the sake of doing it. They won't think, why are we doing this? And more importantly, is it the best way? Now, on that note, over the years, 20 plus years, I've done God knows how many shows and exhibitions all over the place, from little country shows and dog shows through to massive trade shows and building exhibitions. And over that journey, I've seen little renewable energy companies sponsoring best of breed at dog shows. And at the other extreme, I've seen energy companies sponsoring pretty much everything just to get their name everywhere. And in either of those situations, it's evident that no one actually stopped and asked the question and went, what's our objective here? And is this the best way to achieve that objective? Bear in mind, it's about return on investment. It's about how much you're spending and what you're going to get back. Now, some of those situations where ridiculous things being sponsored and it's the wrong show, the cost of acquisition of your customer can be off the chart. And again, you need to measure all that kind of stuff. So be very clear on your objectives. Then understand what your key results are. So that's the next stage. So that's what we want to achieve, but what is the key result? Now you can have several key results that you can measure and monitor to see if your objective has been achieved. And it may well be your ROI, maybe numbers of leads, definitely conversion rates and such like. And then you can see whether it is actually worthwhile. Because with these people that have done these country shows, firstly, I recognise some of them from last year. Secondly, there's a very good chance some of them will be back the following year. Why? I bet they're not measuring it. I bet they don't know the answers to these things. And they may just think, well, it's a day out, doesn't really cost much. Okay, fair enough. But on the other hand, what more could they be doing with their time that would have a far better end result? Better for their business, which is better for them and their customers. So that's what's been going around my head as I've been running around the countryside. Hopefully that was interesting, useful, quick and dirty video quite literally this week. More content coming up. All right, speak to you soon. Take care.